What the hell happened to my pen?
Good to see you, Tommy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here. All right, buddy. I'm Johnny Scoville, my handsome brother, Tommy Scoville, and this is Chase Heath. This is Sober Sunday. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Do me a favor, please. I rarely ever say this. You guys know, although I'm saying it more now. Hit the like button, please.
Smack that thing.
Yeah. Well, here, you guys know what happens. When everybody hits the like button, immediately right off the bat, the algorithm goes,
oh,
what's going on? Like, oh, man, it's those Scovilles. We're making sure people see it. So thank you. Krista Melinda, thank you for being here. Laser Show, Mischief Managed, Noah Wright, Just Joan, Charlie Mullins. Thank you for being here. Bizzle, my dude. Lynn Arundel. Arwa, thank you for being here. Fowler, good to see you. Silver Surfer. Lisa Trimble is here. That's a star right there. Thank you for being here. Brian Vandenbroek. If I missed anybody, I hope I get to everybody. Windmill Willie, good to see you. Twin Mom, thank you for being here. And thank you guys for hitting the like button. I appreciate that. So how's Tennessee there, dude?
You know, I'll tell you what. It's cold. It's rainy. I got here, and today it was raining really hard, and the gutter that's nailed to the little shed outside was doing the rack, like it was going to come off the house. So I had to go and get on a stepladder, right, with a hammer, and give this thing the business in a rainstorm. Miserable.
You should have filmed it. That's content. That's hilarious. I would have watched that. See how
I know you would have.
Skip ahead on.
I know you would have, and I think a lot of other people would too. But I have this thing that I believe wholeheartedly that if I stand on that ladder, there's an excellent chance it's going to fall out from underneath me, but only if someone's recording it, right?
Right.
I have nothing to worry about if it's not being recorded. But if that thing is being recorded, I'm going to end up on my back, right? The hammer's going to fall and catch me in the junk, and I'm going to end up on Funniest Home Videos, and it's going to suck. And I don't want any part of it.
Right. OSHA approved.
That's right.
Thank you, Charlie Mullins. Look at that. In case you missed that, you guys, 23 months he's been a member. And he's been a wrench forever, too. You guys.
And family.
And family. That's for real. Good man. Hi, Mary. Hope you guys are all well. Jennifer Matthews, Karen Pooley, Keith Kingman. Great people. Sam, Herja. Love that. So we're going to talk a little tonight.
There'll be some talking?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's a lot to talk about. You know, I'll be very frank with you guys. Initially, didn't think Tommy was going to be available, but he was, and thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate that, because here's the thing. You know, we do Sober Sunday, and one thing I say about it is, like, I'm by no means an expert. Like, you've read, Reese is here. Look at that. Not one, but two Scovilles, people. I'm by no means an expert. And the only thing that gives me I feel like the authority to talk about it is I'm a sober man. And but as far as the expert, you listen, I steal all my information. I've stolen from you.
Well, all my information I stole from other people. Like I honestly, I haven't had a tremendous number of original thoughts about sobriety. I've come across things, you know, the concept of the opposite of addiction being connection was certainly nothing that I heard. That I came up with. It was something that I heard, but it affected me instantly. Right? It was one of those things that the first time I heard, I went, "Holy crap!" Like that makes sense. But that's my repertoire is just a bunch of smart people stuff that made a lot of sense when I ran across it.
Absolutely.
I think that's probably what drives that most. But you know, especially in something like the sobriety realm, you know, there isn't a lot that hasn't been said, honestly, unless you come up with a really, really novel idea. I think the approach of harm reduction is unique. You know, I mean, it's not that it hasn't been around a long time, but it's now people are starting to take it seriously as something that saves lives.
Controversial. It's a wicked controversial topic. I feel like to me, it's like, how can that be controversial to you?
Like a no-brainer.
It is a controversial topic.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a no-brainer. Like, you know, even the people that just want to bust. Well, how deep into this are we? People that just want to bust Kilchiones, you know what I mean? That because you just traded one substance for another. I mean, I sat there dumbfounded every single time someone says he traded the Bolivian marching powder for the devil's lettuce. To me, this seems like a pretty good trade.
Winner all day.
Right? Ding, 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 ding. Get that man something.
But that's why when you hear people attack it, I'm like, where are you coming from? Well, that's a bad idea. I mean,
I can tell you, I can answer that amazingly.
Tell me.
In my humble opinion, it comes from decade after decade after decade of a very rigid kind of sobriety program that,
right.
yeah, that it was their way or the highway, right? And I believe in God, you know my get down, but they force people to believe in higher powers, and they you can't force someone to do that. It's never worked ever. It's never gonna work. So it's weird that the evolution of the program. I think people changing and seeing that, we joke all the time, but if you went to a hospital and said, I don't feel so good, and they went, get out of here, you're sick, but that happens. That happens every day across the country, and that rigid, mindset of, well, if you're not doing it our way, then you're not sober. I'm sorry, you take medication, right? You're on medical assisted treatment. Well, you're still just a junkie.
Lisa Trimble, you're a rock star. Thank you so much for those 5 memberships. You guys that are getting those memberships. Yeah, man, those people that are getting them, please do me a favor. Watch the Couch Time series. You won't be bored. And by the way, anybody in the chat, if you're watching, you've got something you want us to read, either a comment or a question, throw a couple, like 3 or 4 capital Q's in front of it, and it'll get my attention. I'll throw a star on it, and it'll slide by. So, but don't worry. I have them starred, and we'll revisit them. So please do that.
$30,000 super chat will also get his attention. Like if you really want to get that puppy read, $30K on a super chat, and it's all but guaranteed. Johnny Scoville is going to read that.
Now listen, we have a special day right here because Mr. Keith Lego. It is, first of all, he's a sober man. He's a chili head, but today is that old goober's birthday.
Right up.
I know that you agreed to sing happy birthday, so go ahead.
I do.
No, I'm not going to do it to you. Everybody in the chat, though, do me a favor. Please, let's show some love. He's a good guy. He really is. He's a good chili. He's a good person. He's my friend. So let's, please, if you could, say happy birthday to my friend Keith Lego. We're gonna celebrate more of that coming up. He's right now not just sober from everything. He's sober from Capsaicin. He's taking a month off.
Oh, is that so you can burn harder later?
Dude, his first day back. Listen to this. His first day back. It's crazy. His first day back, he's gonna do 10 million Scoville tincture from your favorite, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Has he seen any photos of me taking that tincture?
You know what? I should have uploaded that picture because that's a funny picture.
Not so much. I don't.
It was for me. Keith Lego says, "Oh shucks, thank you. You're my family and friends. Love you all." Yeah. I was telling a good friend today on the phone. The only commodity we can't really make more of is time. You know what I mean? So who you choose to spend your time with, it's a big deal. And right now we're choosing to spend time together. We're all broken, and it brings us together. And how? I learned, some super big thing that I learned from you, and please hit that like button, everybody, was the whole concept of relapse. And this is the truth, it's crazy to me, but until I learned it on your channel, in my mind, right up here, relapse was somebody doing their drug or whatever, using
the drink to their lips,
using that. To me, I thought it was using, and it turns out it has nothing to do with that. It's not. That's the process. But it's not. I have to put this in there because Safari Dream, thank you. Everybody always, you ever see Joe Rogan, RIP Joe Rogan? There's always the RIP. This is the first RIP that counts. So we're going to do that.
It's real.
President Jimmy Carter passed away today. 100 years old.
Oddly enough, I met that man once.
Yep. So 100 years, man. So keep his families in your thoughts and prayers because I tell you what, here's the truth of it. You know what? And everybody knows this. If you've lost somebody, you can see that coming 10 years ahead. I promise you can. But when it happens, it's still like a shock. It's a rough thing.
Can you put up Hergia's question?
Yeah, I got it right here. I have a few that I'm collecting. Hergia says, here, I can answer that for you. Can I?
No, I'll nail this one out. My substance of choice didn't come in a bottle. I did the ugliest of all substances. It starts with the letter H. Put it in a spoon, right? Tie off your arm, that kind of thing. That was my substance of choice, and I did it for go long on about 3 decades.
And I did it for
A long time.
Long time.
A long time.
But Tommy never had a problem with drinking ever. And that was something that I did. Here's the truth of it. And I've said this before, but I've abused or been addicted to all of it, except the really modern. Now, you know what? The really new designer stuff, the weird stuff that they're making in bathtubs. I never really, thank God, I didn't, I never dabbled in any of that. Love the T-shirt, Keith Kingman says, because it's the Ramones. It's
a great shirt, to be sure. It's a Johnny Ramone for President shirt. It's not just a Ramone shirt. It is the Ramone shirt. It's the coolest Ramone shirt ever.
I did burn Reese. It was an accident. I burned Reese and Tommy the same evening.
That's true.
I swear, I give you my word, it was an accident.
In fact,
one a little bit more, 2 Scovilles at once.
Yeah. He actually burned Reese bad enough where Reese accidentally burned me. It was the whole night was just.
It was transferable burn. It was
I'll
all
never
accidental.
eat peppers with Johnny again. I mean, honestly, if you haven't learned your lesson concerning Johnny Scoville, we were joking with my mother. My mother has the worst ring on her phone, right? When my sister calls, instead of the phone ringing, you hear my sister's voice going, Mom, are you there? Mom, pick up the phone. Now, the first time you hear it, you're like, that's funny as hell.
No, but it goes on for a long time. And it's irritating. Finally, it goes, Mom. And I mean.
Are you ignoring me? Are you listening to me? By the 4th time you hear it, you're like, if that goes off again, I'm putting that phone in the garbage disposal, right? You start to lose it. So she says, I want to do the same thing for you guys. And she wanted me to yell, fine, we'll do it live. Because usually before I go live, I tend to do the
Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live.
I do the Bill O'Reilly meltdown right before I go live. Because it just feels right to go, screw it, we'll do it live. So, and she actually imitated my voice. It was hysterically funny.
And she wants mine to be, it's not that hot.
Yeah, it's not that hot.
She wants that to be the ringtone. I'll tell you something. How bad that our Sister Scoville's ringtone irritates you, it's totally determined by what kind of day you're having. If you're on edge already, I want to kill somebody when I hear that thing. I've called her before to tell her how much I hate it.
Yeah, I've not liked it from the very first day.
It's rough.
It's just kind of long and obnoxious.
Laser Show asked, do you know the art of Kintsugi? It's where Japanese culture takes broken vases or anything like that and repairs them with molten gold and puts them back together better than before.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I am familiar with it. It's a very, very beautiful thing.
I did a show on it last year.
Yep.
But
isn't that what we all are? Because here's the truth of it. When we're broken, we're broken. But once we repair ourselves, whether there's gold between the cracks or not, are we not better for it?
Oh, no question.
Are we not a more beautiful vessel? Are we not? Seriously, I think.
Oh, yeah, no question. But I read a poem that had been translated to English. And the poem is about a vessel that they carry down every day to the watering hole to fill up and then come back up to the and one of them, there's a brand new vessel, and the vessels are actually talking to each other. The guy said, you're worthless. They should just throw you out. You're leaking. Look how bad this is. You got holes all over the place. Well, every day on the way back from filling up the water did leak out all out of this vessel, and everywhere it went. And, toward the end of the poem, the cracked vessel said, why don't you take a look at everything growing on both sides of that path, right? Because every time coming back from that watering hole, it ends up, those fissures and those cracks that we have very often water those around us. And it's our life experiences and the pain that we've been through that gives us an opportunity to help other people. I get to talk to people that never would listen to a word I said if I hadn't been convicted of a bunch of bank robberies. Like that's the deal that gets me through the door. And then we can have a real conversation, which admittedly is kind of a strange
here's the beautiful
concept.
Thing.
It is.
How many people, though, you're a smart guy. How many people have the bad experience? There's a lot of us. But take the ugly part and somehow turn that into your resume. To me, you're a very, very intelligent cat. To be for real.
I think this has been my experience, and maybe because I come from prison, right? But in my experience, it's way more than you would think, right? It would blow your mind. The number of people who get to a point, and for some people, it's because they've learned to believe in a higher power, and they don't want to have to look at that higher power at some point and say, I pissed away the first half of my life, right?
Right.
They want to be able to say, I took the first half of my life and turned it into something positive for the second half of my life because I didn't do a whole lot that was worth talking about in the first half, right? Yep. And then for other people's, I think it's different mindsets. But once you walk out of that forest and you realize that there's people still in there. It's kind of a burden, I think, for a lot of people. And they go in one of two directions. They either do like what we're doing, where we admit that we were criminals and you just sort of own it all and move forward, or they go the opposite way, and you will never know that person ever even had, a hit off a joint. They will go the opposite direction and just clam up and not say a word to anybody. And I don't think there's much benefit in that. I think that there's a lot of benefit in repairing our cracks and celebrating that kind of stuff. It's like patina on a watch.
When you become a part of somebody else's sobriety, it does spectacular things, for you. Abigail, I want to say happy birthday to your niece, who's now 7. That's a special day.
Yes, it is.
A couple of starred comments and questions I want to hit real quick. Let me give them before that way we don't get lost. We don't get too far ahead of ourselves. Noah says, my cousin was a hardcore addict. She had to be brought back with Narcan multiple times. She seems better to be better now, but unfortunately, I still question. And that unfortunately, that happens.
Yeah.
That's the question.
It's interesting. This may sound awful, but I find this really interesting. I talk to people all the time in rehab and who are in recovery, that are really honestly changing their lives. And I talk to them in various stages of recovery along the way. In the early days, if you say to somebody, hey, you're not still using, are you? Right? They jump your what. And they're super, super offended. And, how dare you? I'm trying to still. There's a shift that happens where people come up and go, hey, man, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but your eyes look a little pinned or whatever today, and they go to that, here, come on, check it out, right? Come over, give it a look. Like I got nothing to hide kind of a thing. And it's in the beginning, it's really frustrating when people don't believe you. And then I think if you're journaling and you're working through stuff, you get to a point where you're like, of course they don't trust me. I lied to them for 20 or 30 years, right? Why would they trust me? You kind of have to own that stuff. It's not comfortable, right, at all, but you kind of have to own that.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it, is owning it.
I think it is.
Yep. Brian Vandenbroek says, have you ever suffered thunderclap headaches from using Superox? I have not. I have not.
I've suffered everything but.
I guess. Reese says it was so bad, but oddly, lots of fun. That was the burn she's talking about. Isn't that the truth, though? Isn't every burn, it's like when it's happening, and you're like, oh, what a drag. But after the fact, you're like, I'm glad that happened. Seriously.
Like a fist fight. Right? Fist fights in the same way. You're miserable while you're doing it. Your adrenaline's pumping, but when it's over, you all get together and go, oh, that's great. Right? Did you see that thing when I don't like fist fights.
Especially if you do really well. Left Eye Pat, my brother, relapsing after almost 10 years was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm now in my second run of sobriety, going on 15.
I love
Left Eye Pat. Left Eye Pat, we were together in Pennsylvania, and it was crazy. I'm not even going to share the story. It was an amazing moment.
He wasn't there for the grenade into the tent, was he?
Oh, you bet. He was right there for that. In fact, Left Eye Pat, do you mind if I share that story? I don't know if you want me to, because it's about sobriety. If you're okay with it, I'll tell it, because it was pretty heavy duty. If you're okay with it, I know he's going to say yes. I'll wait for the yes, but I know he's going to say yes. Watch it. Now I've kind of forced him to say yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's going to come out and go, I'd rather you don't.
Right. Share the story. All right. So we were in at a big festival in Erie. All right. And, Pat's famously sober. Everybody knows him, knows he's sober. He's a strong guy. He's just wonderfully solid in his sobriety. He's just like us, dude. He's just like you, and he's just like me. He's a wonderful dude. I love him. And he went up, and at the little spot where you get soft drinks and refreshments and stuff, and hot dogs, corn dogs, whatever, they had frozen drinks, slushies. All right. But they weren't just slushies, people. They had alcohol in them. And
probably grain alcohol.
I don't know what it was, but he thought it wasn't. And I think he even asked, and the guy handed to him. And he took a big sip of it, and I was walking this way, and it looked like a building fell on him. It looked like a building had fallen on him. He was just destroyed by it. And, we just took a walk. And I'm telling you, let me tell you something. It was one of those, I wasn't standing there by accident moments. We took a walk, and I'm like, dude, you didn't reach out. And it wasn't a weak moment where you said, give me that. I said, that was just, but you have to know, having not had a drink for so long, having a mouthful, it was a devastating thing for him. It really was. It was it was like the earth kind of quaked. It was a rough moment. but I'm so glad I was there for that. You're a strong dude.
I
And the
had,
reason, so I know I saw someone say, "Why is he left eye? Why they call him left eye Pat?"
because
He
right
never
eye
said
Pat
that.
would be rude.
He's he's missing an eye, and there you have it. There's the recovery playlist for Lifeboat. Please check it out. A couple more. We have some more questions here.
You know, it's funny. I got
Tell me.
sober in prison, and I had a good long run going. I'd been sober a really long time, and I wasn't really breaking any rules in there, right? With the exception of the fact that if you had tobacco, right, I was hitting it. And there was just, I think it was the forbidden fruit thing, more
Right.
than anything, because I got out and I bought a pack of Marlboros and I didn't get through one cigarette. I left the entire thing right where I bought it and walked away. But when I was in there, like that was a treat. Anytime somebody could have, had tobacco, and I was walking by a dude's cell, right? And I looked in and he's hitting this, and I was like, oh, you little maggot. And I walked in and you could smell it instantly. It was not weed, right? You could smell the tobacco. And I went, hey, is it cool if I catch you hitting that? And he goes, yeah. And he hands it to me, and I went, and it was one of those things where the second that stuff hit the back of my throat, I knew I made an error, right? I knew this was not just tobacco, because it was the deuce, that the K2 stuff. It's the only time I've ever done it. And it's horrifying. It's like a PCP buzz, but it's instant. And I went, what is this? And he goes, it's the deuce. And I went, oh, shit. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And I got the guilts, and I had a conversation with Q, and he goes, did you go in there to get yourself some K2? I said, no. And it was the worst. It only lasted about an hour, but it was horrifying. And I said, I didn't have any fun. He's like, well, if you really want to beat yourself up over that, go ahead. But, you didn't have fun. You didn't ask for it. He's like, I don't know where your hang up is, But I didn't smoke any more tobacco inside. That was the last. I put an end to my tobacco smoking.
Right. Jason P. That's a man I love dearly. We both love him dearly. He's a wrench on my channel. He's a wrench on Reese's channel. He's a wrench on Tommy's channel.
And he's damn good at it everywhere he goes.
Just a solid guy. Listen, Atwoods, May of 2025 will be my silver drug-free anniversary. 25 years. Still drink, but TLB and Chase the Heat and Research Channels have helped with the harm reduction through connection. I love our top-tier community.
Yeah, and you know what else? Let me tell you something really interesting that comes out of harm reduction. I think this is fascinating, right? We learn things. And we learn in some cases that there are people who had massive hangups in their life, but the drug wasn't really a part of it. This happens. There are people through whom harm reduction start to figure out that, there are people who abuse drugs who aren't addicted to them. I know this is a really hard concept for a lot of people to wrap their brain around. But let's say me and a guy who has no predisposition at all anywhere in his body to become a drug addict. If the two of us begin to bang smack every day together to shoot H, right? And we do it together every single day. In 14 days, he's going to have a habit that will make him viciously sick if he does not get a fix, right? But if we quit on the same day, we go through it, and, oh, God, I'm dying and all that stuff. At the end of those 3 days, I'm going to go out looking for a bag. And that dude's going to sit down in his journal and write, if I live to be 180, I'm never putting another opiate in my body again as long as I live, right? Both of us at that time looked like drug addicts. We were living the exact same life. We both looked like drug addicts. We were abusing the substance at the same time. We had even become dependent on it, but only one of us was a drug addict.
And what's the percentage? 3%?
That are going to crash and burn completely. And what that means is you're going to end up either incarcerated, you're going to end up in a mental institution, or you're going to end up dead. 3%. Now, there will be a lot of people that catch habits that destroy their lives. There'll be a lot of people that wind up divorced, lose their businesses, and go through all of these different kind of trials and tribulation things. But the crash and burn numbers are really quite small, right? It's about 3%. And what's fascinating is it doesn't matter what the substance is. You would think, right, that if you were to say, well, obviously it's going to be way different if you're taking, pills or drinking versus doing something like H. It's the exact same. The numbers don't really change very much. It's negligible, honestly, from one to the other.
Lisa Tribble, AA works for some people. It worked for me 14 plus years, but I know it's not for everyone.
Here's the thing.
I always think it doesn't matter what avenue, what path you take to arrive at sobriety. Find that path, stay the hell on it, and don't stray from it.
Right. So AA has a success rate allegedly, right? Because it's hard to get statistics out of these people because any place that does rehab yells HEPA and doesn't, hand over any kind of information. But according to anybody that's done any kind of study on this, they'll tell you that 20%, right? 20% success rate for things like AA and NA. Inpatient, things like Betty Ford and stuff like that, has a 20% success rate. Every single thing has a 20% success rate. It doesn't. So whether you're paying a hell of a lot of money and going to Betty Ford or you're just walking into some meeting, the trouble becomes, what else do you pick up from it? And the problem for a lot of people with some of these programs, and I'm not bad mouthing AA, so don't write me any hate mail. But for instance, let's say you happen to not be born with with male equipment. You go to these kinds of rehabs, and you're going to get asked out on average about 145 times in the first two meetings that you're there, and that becomes a real issue. Right? There is a predatory kind of a thing. And it's not because guys are going there to hit on chicks. It's because people who haven't felt emotion in years all of a sudden get their emotions turned on and jumper cabled. And they look around and they haven't been looking through. They've been looking through lenses that look like they had gauze over them for 4 or 5 years. Now everything's clear. And the first thing they see is some girl named Karen who hasn't had any substances in a year. And they go, I'm in love. Right? It's instant and it's an issue. I like this, the virtual aspect of the internet. I think it protects a lot of people.
Yeah.
What do we got? Look at this.
Oh, man.
Look at these two. Seamus?
Daddy, it's Daddy.
These guys dig me. They're good kitties. They really are. They're good kitties.
Sorry, I had to show you.
No, I appreciate it.
Real quick, though, I want to address this question from since we were talking about from Lisa's last question. Let's just follow up because she has another good one. Do you ever have dreams about using or using drugs in dreams?
Absolutely.
I don't anymore. I used to.
Oh, it stopped for you?
Well, yeah, mostly.
Yeah. I get them all the time. A couple of times a month, some months more than others. Oddly enough, for me, though, doing chemicals in my dreams is exactly like getting in a fist fight in my dreams. I can't land a punch, right? I can't land a punch. I'll sit and go like this, and everything just, it's always off to the side. I can never make contact. And I have never successfully caught a buzz in the dream. I will have all of the equipment. I'll have everything I need except, right? Like the lighter won't fire, or I won't have foil.
Or you're going through the journey. You're on the quest. I have those dreams. I have those dreams. I guess
I've had 1,000 of them. I'm not joking. I've had 1,000 dreams where I'm in the process of cooking, and you will walk in and slap me on the shoulder and go, "Hey, what's up? Are we doing this?" And everything flies. That happens in a lot of my dreams. Somebody bumps me, things spill, but I've never caught a buzz in my dream.
Windmill Willie, how about this for a big deal? Sober since Christmas Day. That's so heavy.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. How cool is that?
I'm thankful for tonight. I'm thankful you're here. Let me tell you something. I'm more blown away by that kind of sobriety statement than, hey, nothing to be knock against somebody 20 years sober, but that excites me.
Boy, I'm telling you, right? Congratulations, Windmill Willie. That's the coolest thing I've heard in a really long time.
Stay strong.
I'm not playing. That's the best thing I've heard in a really long time. That's exciting as hell. And you did it on Christmas. That's epic.
So epic. Abigail, thank you. New member. Thank you so much.
Looking good and green.
Looking very good and green. I got a few more things we'll get to here. Noah Wright says, did you ever finish that bottle of Double Doom Rebooted? I got down to about that much. I made him eat some. And then I passed it off. I gave it to a nephew who has moved to town. He's a chili head, has a new baby. I thought it'd be a good gift because he likes hot. So
he's into it. He is not just a chili head. He is a chili head.
Great question. He really is. So is his wife. Question from Lynn Arundel down under. Are prisoners have access to musical instruments other than harmonica?
The yes and no. If you want to pay to have a guitar sent in, and you're willing to not have it on you ever, then you can do that. And then for an hour or 2 hours a day, you can go to a music room and you can go in and play music. And this is a big thing. I've never been to a prison that didn't have a band, that there were, 5 or 6 different groups of people that were getting together to practice and hone their craft. And there's actually been some very big name artists that have come out of learning to play with, a band in jail to come out and be successful. Hall & Oates famously met locked up.
No way. How did I not know that? Are you being serious?
That's a heart attack. You can look it up. Singing in a cell, they realized that they sounded good together.
That's crazy.
Go to me and Casper. We didn't make any money off of it.
I cannot believe it, right? That's crazy. All right, so we got a few more here. Thank you, Lynn, for your question, Lynn. Okay, so Laser Show says, everything designed to kill me, even my own self-destruction, all failed, which means I have a purpose. Finding out why is the fun part. That's it. That's it.
It is.
I mean, you know what? To me, I've heard you say a bunch of times, when you get sober, it's base camp. It really is. The learning of the why is when you really start climbing. And that's a big deal, Laser Show.
Yeah.
Abigail says, have you heard of the show Hot Ones? I feel like you'd be good on it. I have, Abigail. And there was a time where I would have loved to have been on that show, but they've gone to the dark side. And I don't have much. They're hemorrhaging respect right now. And I kind of want to stay away from them.
Well, let me help you guys out. If you've never seen Hot Ones, you might find a really disturbing clip of film from Ashton Kutcher on Hot Ones, where he talks about Diddy parties and the inability to talk about that. He'll go, I can't tell that story.
Right.
And the host of Hot Ones said, oh, you know what? Diddy party stories are our favorite anecdotes here on the on Hot Ones. Didn't age well. Kind of aged like 2% milk. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But honestly, if you don't know about those things, Abigail, I get it. Look into them. Keith Kingman says, I'm a recovering alcoholic for 6 years, 4 months, 21 days. And I feel it gets easier every day, sometimes not all the time. I get a craving, but I can play fetch with my mind, and it works.
Amen.
I told them, Tommy, that you and I are writing a book, playing fetch with your brain.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm glad.
Speaking of writing a book, so listen, so that nobody yells at Johnny. Here's what happened with the book. And it is coming, by the way, it is. But what happened with the book was this. Johnny and I have over the course of our lives dated a lady or two. And there were some stories in the book. And I don't mean like intimate stories, because we didn't do anything remotely like that. But there were stories in the book for the purpose of context of this is who I was with at this time in my life. Or Johnny would say, this is the person that he was with at that time in his life. And maybe it was a wife or maybe it was a girlfriend. And I don't know that any of them deserve to have to deal with either of us again. If that makes sense, right? Even if we change their name and even if we don't talk a lot about, or we change details or anything, I don't want anybody from my life to have to go out and buy this book to see if I said anything about them in it. That's bad form. And Johnny agrees. So we've just been, we've been classing it up a little bit. And again, it was nothing sexual. Honestly, it wasn't. It's just that I don't think that they deserve to be, to have to be associated with us anymore, kind of thing. So, did all right. So that makes sense.
Good. No, you nailed that. You stuck the landing. There's
Good.
Relatable Reese's channel. Please subscribe it, folks, if you haven't.
Hey, if you're going to be there on New Year's, Johnny Scoville?
I'm doing a live stream from my channel, but I would love to be on yours as well. I'm old, so I'm not going to be. It's not like a midnight thing for me. So I'm sure we can put our schedules together.
Oh, we're older than dirt. When's the last time you actually saw New Year's in the time zone you were in? I celebrated in New York. I'm usually asleep way before it's.
What I usually do is I go in Bulgaria. It's midnight. And that's
all right. That way you can go to bed right after dinner.
Exactly. Midnight. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Checks out.
What did Papa Scoville tell us when we were kids? Nothing.
Amateur hour.
Nothing good happens.
Yeah, he'd say it's amateur hour. Don't go out there on New Year's Eve.
Oh, it's not good. All right, so there's a few more questions I'm going to get to. There's a bunch. And remember, if you have a question, please, or a comment, throw some. I have a bunch, by the way. If you put questions, I'm getting to them. I don't know what time New Year's Live is going to be yet. We need to figure that one out, Bizzle. I will figure that one out. Now, a few more. We've got a bunch more comments here. Laser Show picked a plethora today of ghost peppers, jalapenos for my wife, habaneros, and still have serranos and ghosts are called
habaneros, man. They're like a tattoo for your tongue.
Wicked sweet use of the word plethora, though. I appreciate that. Paula Penley, my 5th sober season. Thank you.
I love that.
So proud of you. Keep going. Mine too.
I love that.
Mine
I really
too.
do. I love
that. Wine a little bit more. Follow up from last week. My 14-year-old nephew has been huffing oxygen. He does not have an oxygen deficiency. Is this harmful? Tommy, I think you know more than anybody because you probably studied this stuff.
What was the question again? Give it to me
He's
one more time.
he's huffing oxygen. This is kind of a scary
He's
situation.
breathing straight oxygen. Yeah, there's not much danger to you medically. My understanding is that
Does it not affect the nervous system or not?
I mean, honestly, I don't know the answer to it. You would need to talk to a doctor. What I can tell you is this: when I was a public speaker, we did this a lot. Right? This was like hangover helper, and there were places like airports used to do this all the time. You could sit down and pay and breathe, and they even scented pure oxygen. I did it a lot. I really did, but I don't think I never did it abusively. I couldn't catch a buzz off it. It wasn't anything like that. It was just very healing. I wonder if, are you sure it's oxygen, or are you talking about somebody huffing compressed air? Because that's a different story, right?
Yeah.
And that has gotten fairly popular. And it looks like someone's doing oxygen, but it's different.
It's not, because it's way more commonly abused than oxygen. It's hard, I'm not even sure where we would get that, but that would be worth looking into.
Well, here's what happens. Like, you remember when we would get the, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. Do you remember when we would grab the big tanks for the dead shows full of nitrous? Okay. The same places you go to buy those, you could buy pure oxygen, right? So it's not hard to get. It's just like buying nitrous, but I don't know. A doctor would be the person to ask. I'm just a degenerate drug addict, but I don't know. I never saw anybody abuse it. And I watched people abuse a lot of stuff you could huff, like ether and things like that.
It's funny you say that, because when she said it last week, when Kate said it last week, I remember thinking, when Why a Little Bit More said it last week, I remember thinking, I've been around every abuse thing. I've been around things you didn't think could be abused. I've never, ever seen oxygen.
The closest I could say that I saw that was I had a homeboy that was fond of buying oxygen and then buying a can of nitrous oxide. And he'd put it into one mask, and so you could continually breathe it. So you didn't have to take it off. He would just enough oxygen in there to get that out.
I know some people that I think are sucking up way too much oxygen. I wish they'd stop a little bit, but that's mean. Work with Kate Jordan. Please send prayers up for my sanity. PTSD is kicking my butt. Please, guys, prayers. One's in the chat. That's virtual love. It's a hug. It's prayers if you believe them. It's positive vibrations, whatever. But it shows that somebody you don't even know you care about. And I appreciate that. All right, Jonathan, question for my cousin. In your opinion, what would be a good starter pepper if you're used to jalapeno? That's all right. Don't worry about stepping on the subject. Jonathan, I would go for habaneros.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Amber Alert. Gold Ford Explorer, Tennessee tags 859BBGN. Everybody get that?
Do it again.
It is a gold Ford Explorer with Tennessee tags 859BBGN. If by some chance you all have seen that, keep your eyes open. If you're listening to us on the freeway here in Tennessee, we have an Amber Alert. So, and thoughts and prayers for the missing child. That's always terrifying. Sorry.
Please. Thank you for doing that. Habaneros I would go to, Jonathan. You don't need to eat the whole thing. You can just eat a sliver, but that's what I would do. They're readily available. It's a good jump.
And you know, the thing with jalapenos are they'll sneak up on you.
Oh, there's sneaky pepper. Chris and Melinda is very important. Please consult your doctor before making any changes to medication regimen or other medical decisions. And if you're quitting benzos or alcohol, do not do that without consulting.
You know what you should throw in there as well, and I never do, honestly. Don't ever quit methadone cold turkey either, right? There are people that will argue. Yeah, there are people that will argue whether or not that can take you off the planet, but it doesn't matter if it can't. Normally, it can for people who have certain problems already in their life. So if you're getting off any of those, just talk to a doctor. In fact, don't quit anything without talking to a doctor. It's just good advice.
We're praying for Kate's sanity, and this is from Laser Show. Ground yourself. Find 3 different colors in the room. Find 2 different textures you can feel, and one thing sour or spicy helps me all the time. That's playing fetch with your brain. That's essentially what you're doing. Very, very good. Thank you, Laser, for your help. And we're praying for you, Kate.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Swiss Vapor, and I got everybody's start, so we'll get to it. PTSD keeps me awake this night, laying next to my wife, still afraid to fall asleep. Meds don't work. What suggestions do you have, Tommy?
You know what? Anytime somebody is on medications and the medications don't work, there's a part of me, as bad as it is, there's a part of me that almost rejoices, because sometimes there are definitely cases where the chemical imbalance isn't going to be treated any other way. But I continually watch person after person, case after case of individuals that get back to basics like journaling and connection and exercise and eating right and the things that we take for freaking granted, right? We walk into a doctor's office and we go, "Hey doc, I'm not feeling good. I'm having a really tough time sleeping and I'm struggling with this, this, and this." The first question ought to be, what are you eating? Right? How often do you eat? When do you break the fast? Right? When is the first time during the day that you eat? Are you exercising at all? How much time do you spend staring at a screen during the course of the day? They will not get to any of that. They will listen to the symptoms, and then they will make some kind of a prognosis, and they will write you a prescription. And the truth is, if we get back to the freaking basics, like we start eating well, I'll be honest, life's kind of different. I come down here and Quibs is she cares, in a very unique way, more than I do about myself, kind of thing. So last night I was eating a broccoli casserole. Yeah, you freaking heard me. I said a broccoli casserole, and these kind of things that if you begin to let all the tumblers fall into place. I was up at about 5 o'clock this morning doing yoga and working out. And if you don't have a routine and you don't have things that you're doing every single day, when we go to doctors and we tell them about the problems we have, we're telling them about symptoms that very often can be cured by getting back to basics. Put pen to paper, start dumping everything you got in your head onto paper and looking at it. Right? All of the most successful people on earth do this every single day. It's a great idea too. Now, sometimes you do all of those things and it's still going to jam up on you, right? And if that's the case and that's continuing to happen, sometimes it does require medication. But even still, before that happens, maybe work out a little more. Maybe try to get to the point where you're exhausted. Maybe start eating a little bit better, upping the protein, right? Really trying to cut out some of the bad stuff that's in foods all the time, because it's amazing, folks, that when you treat the engine that is the human body, right, like it's supposed to be treated, it will give you a much better shake, so to speak. Right? It'll work with you instead of against you.
Let me just address this. Swiss Vapor says, horrible pics from the war still in my head. Can't be erased. Projecting my dreams. Terrible. No meds can take them. I can't fathom what that's like. I've not been there. The only thing, it's not the same. I know it, but I was a missionary and I went to a orphanage in Siberia, and I saw some things there that there are times even now, and it's been a long time. Every once in a while, if I can't sleep, I'll shut my eyes and I'll see an image. And there's only a few that always pop up. It's the same couple. And when that happens, it's play fetch with your brain. I just try to occupy my brain. It's something, eat something, think something.
It's never wallpaper, right? We don't have the ability to do that in our brain. It has to be the whole movie. It's not going to be wallpaper. It's not going to be a backdrop or a sign. It has to be the whole movie. So what you got to do is, and these, I know it sounds cheesy, especially for adults, but what you have to do is change the channel of your brain. So you have to start getting to the point where when those things start coming on, a lot of times people say you need to change that thought as fast as you can. Get that thought out of your head. That never worked for me. And as I was trying to do that, and I've told the story on the boat many times, right, about the burnt leg Lakota, right, where they were surrounded by fire, and they said, "What are we going to do?" They said, "We're going to run right into it. We're going to run directly into this fire, and we're going to pop out on the backside, and that's our only choice." And I have learned to make friends with some of the demons that are going to be with me for the rest of my life, right? I'm not going to get them to put away. I'm not going to be able to do that. So what I got to do is, sounds corny, but you got to kind of make friends with the things that you wish most would go away, so that you can at least get to a point where you can run into that fire, or you can do whatever it's going to take. If it's 5 minutes of dealing with what you saw, if it's 5 minutes of coming to grips and saying, you know what, I did see that. I watched that guy stomp to death. I watched his head bleed out. Maybe I could have done something about it, but here are the facts. Here's what it is. And by coping with it, by looking at it and running into the fire, it might be 5 to 10 minutes of discomfort. Normally, when I pop out of the backside of that, my palate is clean and I don't have that taste and that hangover, so to speak, right? But it's a matter of, for me anyway, when I went the other route and I tried to hop from one thought to another and get that thing out of there and change whatever it is I was thinking about, I found that I could take that thought and make it last for 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever. right? It was just overwhelming. I'm better off to acknowledge it, concentrate on it, journal about the things that I saw in excruciating detail, and get done with it. But this is also psychobabble you'll hear if you pay somebody. What works for one person isn't going to work for the next. That's the reality. So you got to be open to trying just about anything and everything that you can do, because what you're talking about is CPTSD, and it's a bitch, right? It's one of the hardest things in the world that you're ever going to have to be. And the science behind this should make sense. The more scary something is that happens to you, the more likely you are to imprint that on your brain much more, because our survival instinct says, if this scared him that bad, we better make sure he never forgets it so it won't happen again, right? It's a terrifying concept, but the stuff like Vape's going through because he saw it in war are going to be imprinted on his on his brain in ways that probably never should happen and certainly will not happen again. And that's my thoughts and prayers are with you, my brother. The good news is you're one of the toughest people I've met. So I have very high hopes that you will fight this. And,
dovetailing on that, this is from Dean, a good friend. Dean says that a friend in the Chile community just took their own life. I don't know who that is, and I'm terrified because I know that I probably do. I haven't heard about it. If anybody feels the need to do this, please reach out to someone. You have people that love you, even if you don't realize it. If you could send me an email, I'd appreciate that, Dean.
It's a hard time of year for a lot of people. You know,
Laser Show said, "I'd rather hear your voice at 2 a.m. Stuck in your head than be a voice at your funeral. Speak out to me or anyone you care about." Fact.
I've said that so many times. You know what I mean? You can be pissed off at me, but I'd rather be Jimmy Cricket in the back of your head right now than be sitting at at a funeral talking to your loved ones and saying, "I wish I had pushed him a little bit more. I wish I had done more." You know.
Absolutely. Now, I have not tried the sauce yet, Pepper Poppy, Sam, but I'm going to get to it. It's just been super, super busy. I'm excited to, though, especially now that I have the
yeah, he's talking it up pretty good.
Abigail, thank you, Abigail. Says, "You're a good guy, Johnny. I'm honored to be a part of the membership community. Thanks for turning me on to the channel." Relatable Reese, she's awesome.
Nice. She's
Thank you for the birthday wishes, Johnny. Thank you, Abigail. You're awfully kind.
Pretty fond of the Quibster.
Amen. And Bizzle says, "Not a sober question, but what's the difference in parole and probation, Tommy? I watch a lot of cop shows, but I don't know the difference."
Okay. Parole is when you are in prison in the state facility, not the Fed. They give you an opportunity to try to better yourself in prison. And if you do, they might let you out earlier on parole. So you get to finish the last year or 2 years of your sentence on the street. It's kind of a cool concept to reward people for doing the right thing inside. They used to do that in the feds as well, but they stopped in 1986. Haven't done it since. So probation is traditionally in the state system given in lieu of a prison sentence. So they say, "All right, Johnny Scoville, we got you for open beverage and possession of marijuana in your car, yada yada. This is carrying a 1 to 3 year prison sentence, but we're going to suspend it and put you on probation instead. As long as you don't get in trouble for the term of that probation, this will be removed from your record. If you do get in trouble, you're going to go to jail and you're going to serve out your sentence." That's how it works traditionally. You have a probation officer that you have to report to and take drug tests and all that in lieu of going to prison. In the feds, when you're done with your sentence, they put you on probation. So after your sentence is over, you're given what the fellas call a tail. And then what that means is you have to report to a probation officer. They can search you or your house whenever they want. You have no Fourth Amendment rights, blah, blah, blah. And that goes on for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, life, depending on what the judge decides to sentence you to. But it gets confusing, especially if you're watching it in shows. But hopefully that explained a little bit.
Good
I feel
question.
like I confused myself and I know the answer. What?
It was a great question.
It was.
Left Eye Pat says, "Tommy, did you say you got sober in prison? I've heard it's harder to get and stay sober there. And would you consider that hitting your bottom?"
Yeah, that was rock bottom for me. I got stabbed on a prison yard on the 26th day of June. And 7 days after that, just right around a week after that was my birthday. And on that day, I got the divorce papers from my wife. Yeah, it was about as rock bottom.
Yahtzee!
Yeah, exactly. Ding, 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 trifecta. Right? When the cop came by and handed me the thing and I saw it and realized what it was, I was like, "Hey, don't leave." want
Did
to
you hear
slam my
the
fingers
music?
in
Did you hear the
in
music
bean
from
slot.
Stripes? No, 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 no,
And
no,
then
no.
depression set in.
Exactly.
No, I said to him, you may as well slam my fingers in the door here on the bean slot because nothing else. You couldn't really do any worse than what's just happened. So why not finish up strong and break my fingers in the process?
And that's what got you sober. Now, Jonathan says, "What was the reason for your sobriety?" The question, how to either of you.
What was the reason of my sobriety? This is a good one for me. This was pretty easy for me. I used my reason for staying high as the relationship with my kid, right? That my kid had been yanked away from me, and that was why I continued to use. And when I decided to get sober, I was not going to let my kids see me as a degenerate drug addict. I didn't want to disappoint my father while he was still on this earth. I wanted for him to pass with me being sober. Johnny and my sister Scoville and all of my relatives that stood by me became my why. I wasn't going to quit for me. I was a piece of shit. It was going to be years before I was happy with who I was. I was not. It was weeks ago, right? It was going to be a long, long time before I could possibly start thinking of myself as a good person. So I had to quit for other people. I know they tell you can't do that, but that's BS. I watched it so many times. In the beginning, you have to quit for you. Well, in the first few days of sobriety, the person you hate most on planet Earth is yourself. So more often than not, you have to kind of start quitting for somebody else. And that's not such a bad thing, honestly. I mean, over time, it has to become for you. But in the beginning, doesn't I think that's it's not such a bad thing.
Noah Wright, new member. Thank you so much, Noah Wright.
Looking good and green, Noah Wright.
Very good. You know what? We have another question here from a really good question from Josh. Wonderful dude with a great family.
Nice.
Josh asks, have you both arrived to a point where you are terrified of the thought of using? And if you have, how do you get there? I pray anyone watching can get to that point.
Yeah, it's a great question, isn't it? You know what, Josh? I went in and out of it. I really did. I went in and out of it. When I first started to get sober, I didn't think about it. And then as I got out and I could go out onto the street and score, like I knew where I was at the halfway house in Oakland, I had to walk by the open air drug flea market, which was one of those car washes where you work the machine and you just put the quarters in. It's got the wand or whatever. Well, that's where everybody slung dope. And I had to walk by that every single day on the way home. And it was like, I knew I could get whatever I wanted, and I was terrified. In fact, it got to a point where it would take me about a half a mile to walk home because I wasn't going to go by that. And it was a much longer way, but I was terrified. And these days I'm not. And it's important that I'm not because of what I do. I work with so many people who are messed up, who are still in the life. And if I had that fear, if I had that in the back of my head that, oh God, I could screw this up, then I probably wouldn't be worth a fart trying to help people. You know what I mean? I had to get to a point. But in the beginning, oh, baby, I was so afraid of it. I really was. These days, I have a healthy respect for it. But it's a cliche that I love, right? The way that you can win a fist fight with your substance of choice is to learn to never, ever get in a fist fight with your substance of choice. Honestly, I mean, that's the winner, is not fighting. By not fighting, you have absolutely triumphed over the most difficult thing you're going to face in your life. If you just say, I cannot fight this thing. I did for 3 decades. I got up every morning. Johnny can tell you. I'd get up every morning. I'd walk out and look at him and go, today's the day, bro. Every day, right? I swear to you, I'm not doing it today.
We'd wake up, and we're not going to get too gruesome. Yeah. We would wake up every morning. We would meet in the living room. And if we didn't have anything, 90% of the time we didn't. It was you used it all the night before. We wake up and look at each other and go, what
crime today?
What's the hustle today? We had about half a dozen, maybe 8 different scams we could run.
Depending on what
robbing people, doing that, but they were so insidious. They were horrible. And on the course of a day, listen, when you're using, I was such a criminal. The course of a 24-hour period, if you knew how many times I would fracture the lie, I don't mean little ones.
No.
And, I feel guilty. One of the, I had ants you didn't have. I had guilt ants. Like, why is my brother behind bars and I'm not? Even though you're out now, I still have those. I still get them sometimes. But you know what I've gotten very good at? I was talking to somebody on the phone today, a friend of mine on the phone today. Early on, when I first got sober, I wasn't good at wasn't self-aware enough to go, oh crap, I'm getting attacked. It's a coordinated attack by the ants. They're all over me. And I would sit there and 2 hours would go by and I'm getting ready to jump off a ledge because I've been letting it but the only time the ants do that to you is when you give them the floor. You know what I mean? And now I've gotten way better at going, I can feel them coming. Now I nip them off at the bud. You know what I mean? But
that's sobriety, right? The entire game of recovery is learning to trick your brain because your brain's not your friend. So you got to become a con man, right? To work your brain. And you got to know all the little tricks that you can do to keep that thing in check, because what it really is a 290-pound, right, tattooed convict that wants a fix. So you kind of got to keep that part of the brain at bay. And I'm confident these days that I've done just that, right? That I've got the old gray matter to a place where I don't fear it anymore. I really don't. Now, if I find myself in a room with it, like I was with Johnny, and I don't remember where we were. It was a grocery store. I just don't remember which one, but he'll remember the story. We walked into an aisle. We were going to look for these crackers that we buy, these huge crackers. And the second we turned the corner, the smell of H, right? And I don't mean the burning smell of it. I'm talking about like the raw version of it. It smelled like somebody had just pulled out a handful of it and was walking around. And I looked at Johnny and he looked at me, and it was like in a split second, you're back to Pavlov's dog. And as much as I say I don't have a fear in my life or anything else, I looked at him and I go, "Do you smell that?" He goes, "Let's get out of here." And we ran out of that store.
By the way, one more time, Lego, if you're in the chat, you didn't realize this, it's Lego's birthday. So please say a happy birthday in the chat. And one other thing that we do, Tommy and I do this, we can't read every single comment, but I want you to know something. Afterwards, you better believe that we go through and watch the video. I'd love to know where you guys are from. So if you're sitting near a device where you can type where you're watching from, I know we're not going to be able to see them all now, but please do that, because I love going back after and seeing what reach is and where people are being affected. Because I was saying this earlier, Tommy, when you and I were living at our worst, we were casting ripples left and right. We just weren't aware of them and didn't care. Now we're casting a ripple, and I just want it to be a good ripple.
You know, and I have another show that I'm going to be doing because I'm doing Night Yard today, so I got to get some thumbnails and do all that. But I want to leave you with this one, man. How long was I in prison? 13 years is how long I was in prison altogether.
I've never been in prison, heard you. I've been in county too many times.
It's this is the addiction thing is horrifying, right? It really is, and depending on the substance, you know, people will say to me, "Oh gosh, you know, so much. You had that stuff that you get sick if you weren't on it. And that physical dependency is worse than." Miss me with all that crap. If the substance owns you, your particular symptoms aren't going to seem all of that insane to you because it's your particular symptoms, right? I mean, honestly, that's kind of the way it goes. But I have found, without any doubt at all, that we all sit in we're in the same boat. This thing didn't get named that by accident. We really are all in the same boat, whether you're shopping, whether you're drinking, whether you're gambling, whether you're a sex addict, or whether you're addicted to lying, right? But that inability to feel comfortable in your own skin is one of the most frightening things in the world.
Did you like him or not?
I don't remember that one.
You know what? I don't think they were that bad.
It wasn't traumatizing enough for me to remember. It's usually the Tom Broom ones are the ones that get me.
To quote our friend Dirk, it was a little dry. They were a little dry.
It was a little dry. They were a little hard to read.
Andrew Brown.
Striker Fox?
Yeah. Isn't that great? Striker. Yeah. Striker is in the chat. Every time I see Striker Bud, every time I see Striker Bud's name, I think of Striker Fox. We'll tell it really quickly the very, very fast Striker Fox, and then we're going to let Tommy go, and we're going to wrap this thing up. I promise. Oh, by the way, Tommy, I've asked Tommy, and he's been kind enough for the next 4 or 5 sober weekends. He's going to be in the chat with us. But we sat around before he left. We started talking, and he's like, you know, it really would be fun to skydive again. And 15 minutes later, we're doing it, and so we're going to get skydive again and do that because it's a lot of fun. But the Striker Fox thing, I've been telling Tommy for a long time, I really want a wingsuit. So he says, you know, does anybody know the Striker Fox reference? Because it's flipping hilarious.
Right.
It's a Family Guy reference. It's Family Guy. If Striker Fox, he hits his head in a bathroom, and he thinks all this is happening. He's just unconscious. But he meets this cool dude named Striker Fox, and he wingsuits. And he threads the needle, goes through a hole in the rocks. And he's standing there watching, and he hits the rock and splatters. Every time I mention wanting to wingsurf, Tommy tells me that he goes, "Okay, Striker Fox."
No, here's the thing. Everything you do to the extreme. Look at how you eat freaking peppers. Everybody in the chat eats peppers. Look at how you eat peppers, right? So if you start doing the wingsuit thing, it's just a matter of time before you'll be like, hey, check this. See this match? I'm going to light it on that cliff face as we go by. Like, that's the kind of bunghole that you are. So it's just a matter of time before you strike or fox it. And I'm not going up there and scraping you off the wall.
Here's the deal. We're just going to start jumping nice and easy. We know the price. We know where we're going.
I'm all for skydiving. I'm not all for wingsuit.
Forget about it. Hey, listen, you got nothing to worry about. You trust me.
Trust me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Tommy. Have a great night. Tell Reese I love her. You guys have a good night, please. And I'm going to
trust me. He says, "Trust me." He's Johnny Scoville.
And just like that, he's gone. I can just hang up on him. A few more questions, and I'm telling you, a whole bunch have flown by, and I apologize for that. Laser Show said, in the new part of self, I'm feeling in flux. I'm not who I was, but I don't know who I am. My analytical brain gets in the way. I feel the need just to plunge like I do in the spice challenges. I know the feeling. I really do. It's like you were. Well, listen, I'm not trying to say I know. I'm not trying to be the obnoxious guy who says, "Oh, I know what you're doing." I know what I felt like when I was going through there. Forever, I was a criminal for so long, and just an addicted person that lived in a drug-filled life for so long that when I stopped, we have aunts, but it's also the reason I have imposter syndrome. My aunts say, you're just a fraud. One of these days you're going to upload a video. It'll sit there for 20 hours and you're not going to get one video because they're all going to be sick of looking at you. And I know I'm not a fraud. I've eaten peppers in front of people for, a decade practically, but my head will do that because I don't know the bad habits and trying to figure out what I am now, and reinventing yourself is a difficult thing to do. It absolutely is, Laser Show, but it's worth the journey. But I'm telling you, you're already, journaling is a super, super, super important part. It really is. Vapor says, anybody else had the experience of cutting super rods, forgetting about it, wiping in their eyes, worse, touching something in private, asking for a friend? That's never happened to me. If I had a nickel for every time that happened to me, it would be absurd. Swiss Vapor. Look at this. Y'all amazing, sick pepperheads. JC, keep the heat. Check out the boat. It's like the bus, just on water. Love you all. Love you, Swiss Vapor. Stay strong, and email if you need me in the middle of the night or something. Come on, dude. You guys are all awesome. I appreciate you guys being here. There's too many people in the chat for me to go through. The list doesn't give me, and I don't want to read a handful of names and not everybody else. I want to thank everybody who took the time out of their day to hang here. We're going to be doing Facebook is my journal. You know what? I'm not going to say that can't be. But here's the thing. The best thing about journaling is like to me, the most effective journal is when you're just listen. Here's the thing. You know what I was going to say? I was about to say, if people read my journal, people are about to read my journal because this book is essentially it's 30 years of journaling compacted, it's a nightmare. But the most effective journaling you're going to get is when you're 100% just out, you're just raw. And I don't know if Facebook can do it, but honestly, if it provides you with, you feel like you're moving forward and you're learning from it, man, more power to you. Just don't stop doing that. You know what I mean? Jane Aldrich, you're loved and appreciated. It's been a great stream. Thank you, Johnny and Tommy, and the chat. Love you all and appreciate you as valuable members of the community. Thank you for everybody that's been here. Everybody, Lisa, for all the bus passes you bought. Everybody who got a bus pass. Keith Lego, happy birthday. I love you. You are a really good man, dude. I'm glad you're my friend. Abigail says, oh, dang it. I didn't realize Tommy was leaving. I wanted to ask him something to follow up with something in an email I sent him. Absolutely. And thank you for being here. And again, happy birthday for your niece. Let me see here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. You guys are all awesome. I really do appreciate you guys being here. Kaiser, there's Scott here. Someone handshakes the heat. Thank you for being here. Unfortunately, we're about to wrap it up. We've been going for a little more than an hour. Great show, Left Eye Pat says. I can say tonight helped me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I love you, dude. I really do. I love Pat. He's such a good guy. Every time you're with Pat, I mean, every once in a while something scary happens, like throw a grenade in a tent, and I got to jump in it. But he's just a good dude. He really, really is. Tango with the subscribe button. Thank you, Arwa. I'm her favorite Italian, you guys. James Collins cares, but you're here. We're glad to see you. We really are. I did. You're in the. This is going to sound terrible, Noah. You're in the next block of emails I respond to. You're the third person today I've said that to. I'm sorry. I promise you I'll get to it. I get a lot of emails. But listen, that said, please don't stop emailing me. If anybody has something, Charlie, thank you for being here, dude. I love you. I really do. You're a good man. Tell Mary I said Happy New Year for you guys. But if you want, please email me at chasetheheat@gmail.com. And if you ever want to reach somebody who's a YouTuber, it's just their YouTube name plus Gmail, because it's owned by Google. Andrew Brown, I love you, bro. You know I do. Tell Chance, it's his son's name. His son is a giant. When I met him, he was a little boy. Now he's a grown man. Holy crap. Happy New Year, bro. Every time you send me a picture, I feel older and older. I used to just say I feel old when my kids, my birthdays don't make me feel old. My kids' birthdays do. Now, Andrew Brown's son's birthday makes me feel old. Andrew's going to be one of the guys I interviewed for After the Burn. It's going to be great. Abigail, great first stream on Chase Theater. If everyone felt like this, looking forward to future streams. They are all like this. Now, we're not always talking about sobriety. Sometimes it's just peppers. But even when it's just peppers, you know what's going to happen? Somebody will ask a sobriety question. And when somebody does, I can't blow it off because it's a pepper night. It's really important, So, but it's the vibe. Here's the thing. It's just like Tommy's channel. Honestly, there's a bit of a crossover with what we talk about, but that same vibe is there. Thank you so much, Chris Miller. That was my email. Here's Reese. Please subscribe to her. Please do it. She's a great girl. James Collins cares. One of my fierce wielding wenches. He's a pussycat, but he says this is a great place. You know why my wrenches don't have to be hardcore? Because people that come here are spectacular. Tomorrow, it's going to be a great day. I am eating. I'm going to try Sam's sauce. Let me show you. Hold on right here. Stay right here. Guys. This is a sauce that Sam sent me. Pepper poppy. Oh, I'm stoked to try it. I've been trying to. It's been super busy. And Tommy wanted to try it, believe it or not. And he's not here. But there's no way I'll go through all that, so he'll get a chance to have some. That was Harvest 912. Thank you, Jeremy Fowler. Every time you buy something from Harvest 912, then you're helping put shoes on feet of people that are unhoused and less fortunate than we are. Please do that. It's amazing. There you go. It's just Bizzle, random name jumped up. But if anyone needs a friend, he's such a good one. He's one of the finest men I know. One of the strongest people internally I've ever met in my life. Snake, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. All right, you guys. Swear word. Brandon swears here. Please, guys, check out Brandon's channel, The Swear Word. Great interviews. Excellent. Eddie, just a great guy. Please check him out. He's one of the good ones. Check out Dean, Conjured Vapors. Please check him out. Check out Uncle Bull Cow. I'm sure I'm missing other people in the chat who have YouTube channels. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up now. I love you guys. Thank you. Be kind to somebody. We'll be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow, what is today? Today's Sunday. I'm kidding. I knew that. But we will be back here tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you all. I love you guys. I really do. I'm Johnny Scoville. And this was Chase the Heat.